a resolution by title and number, and that'll be number 2. Scott, will you please do that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. This is resolution number 2022-65, SC 22-05, a resolution of the City Commission serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry, Florida, considering an application for a special exception within the Agricultural A zoning district as authorized under Section 4.5 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations to allow a small-scale rural subdivision on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, parcel identification numbers 04371-001-001 and 04379-000-000, consisting of approximately 45.53 acres, providing for a repealer and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2022-65 upon its reading by title only.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask the city clerk to swear in the applicant, staff, and all participants requesting to speak. At this time, if anyone wants to speak on all three, this will be the time.
This is just the Board of Adjustment. So the 337 is in the commission meeting. So if you're here to do it, Board of Adjustment, stand up. Regular commission meeting, we'll do it again.
We're going to start to my left. Please keep your hand raised and state your name very clear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John Paul Perez with the Planning and Economic Development Department. The request before you tonight is the first small-scale rural subdivision, part of the text amendment that you approved recently to allow for small-scale agricultural estate-type lots in the agricultural districts of the city. Here's an aerial showing the general location of the property on 170th and 15th Ave. Here's an aerial photo of the subject property, so you can see the properties of the land. It's very wooded already, right next to the Jonesville Baptist Church. And just an overview of the request. It's a special exception that you're going to be approving tonight in the agricultural zoning district. The lot sizes are going to range from 2 to 4.7 acres in size. There's a total of 15 lots on this property. Gross acreage is 45.53. The density will be 1 unit for every 3 acres. It's actually just a fraction above that. The lots will have their own well and septic, and Clay will be providing electrical services. And this is going to look familiar to another item on Commission's agenda tonight, because this has an accompanying preliminary plat request that you'll see later on. Here's a colorized version of the plat that's used for marketing purposes, but you can see the tree lines are being kept and that internal roadway. Here are some of the exterior elements that you'll see from the right-of-way, the fence, gates, and signage, and some of the materials they'll be using on that monument in the front of the development. And already confirmed with the applicant, they've incorporated just a reference to our code in their HOA docs, and also the resolution has incorporated the just a recital of the time limitations for approvals of special exceptions. So. And with that, staff finds the request consistent with the land development regulations and the comprehensive plan of the City of Newberry, and at the pleasure of the board, you may approve with conditions, or deny the resolution special exception request. And that completes my presentation.
I would just ask that, it looks like this subdivision is kind of mirroring Barrington. Is that kind of what we're looking at as far as the roads, the lighting, all the stuff we've already went through on that subdivision? Will it
Yeah.
pretty much mirror that?
Yes, sir. We worked with John, Paul, and Brian to kind of mirror that the best we can.
Okay, that's all I got. That's all. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We already got staff report and recommendation. Any public comments? Seeing none?
I just want to say Commissioner Maison is here, but since he missed the presentation, he'll abstain from this quasi and he'll join the next.
Any cross-examinations from the staff?
Staff waves.
Any staff or the applicant, any cross-examinations? Members of the decision-making body? Do you have any more questions? No? Seeing none? Final arguments? Staff? No? Mr. Attorney, will you advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law?
Competent substantial evidence.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
No more deliberations from the board. I'll take a motion. Move to approve. Move to approve. Second, Mr. Paul. And second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. With three. You got all that, Mr. Okay. We had some enter the room since we started, Mr. Mayor. He did, and some of the other, but they're not here for this. Are we okay?
Yeah, the new people that have come in are here for the commission meeting, they're not for the BOA meeting.
Everything.
So we
Okay.
do need to ask Commissioner Maison if he's got any ex parte, and of course need to read this one into the record.
Okay, so we'll finish up the commissioner, we'll do ex parte on all of them. So, Mr. Attorney, will you read in number 3, please, sir?
Happy to do so, Mr. Chair. This is resolution number 2022-67, V22-02, a resolution of the City Commission serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry, Florida, for approval of a variance petition as authorized under Section 3.2.5 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, granting an exception to Section 4.2.4 of same to allow for an accessory structure and a side yard on certain lands within corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. Repealing all resolutions of conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass resolution number 2022-67 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
We have had, no one else?
Joy, you're here for the BOA. You're here for the commission meeting, not the Board of Adjustments.
Okay.
Okay, so
We're good?
you're good.
Everybody's been sworn in. Before we begin, we need to get ex parte. Commissioner Cole? None. Commissioner Farnsworth? None. Commissioner Maison? Mark Clark? I have none. And I have none. Thank you, sir. So at this time, we will follow the quasi judicial item for number 3, staff overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Resolution 2022-67. It's a request for a variance to allow for an accessory structure, in this case, a pool, to be constructed in the side yard of a single-family lot in Newberry Place subdivision. This is the location. Within the subdivision, the configuration of the lot comes into play there on the half cul-de-sac. It is like I said, it's an application for variance by Mr. Wilfredo Gonzalez Valentin. It's basically, the parcel's in a PRD zoning district. PRD is the planned residential development. It's one of our categories that allows the developer to create their own zoning category. So you might have a little bit narrower lots, you might have a little bit smaller lots than you would in a standard zoning. This is a general depiction of the pool. Again, there's the overview. It's a general location where the pool would go, and as you can see, there's very, very little room behind the house. The back of the house is what faces that open area, and so the only thing available to the applicant is the side yard. there's really nowhere in the backyard that he could put the pool. And again, some of the dimensions there, it'll be within the building setback dimensions, except for the backyard. He's looking for a little bit closer to the backyard. Again, there's nobody behind the house. It's an open area, and actually, the commission last year decided to allow accessory structures to go within up to 5 feet of the backyard line if there's nothing behind it. So that part doesn't actually require variance. It's really just to allow the accessory structure in the side yard. And again, that's another depiction there. And so this is the code that basically says that the accessory structures cannot be in the side yard. They have to be in the back, or front or side yards, they have to be in the backyard. There's a, go back. Basically what our code says, though, is that a variant, the purpose of a variance is to allow for a exception based on criteria, based on something about the land that is not as a result of the applicant. And in this case, in the shape of the lot is one of those accepted criteria. And in this case, the location of the house on the yard prevents them from putting the pool in the side yard or the backyard. And so staff's belief is that this qualifies for a variance based on our code. We try to avoid bringing variances forward to the greatest extent possible, but when land development regulations are written, you write to the general development regulations. You can't anticipate every single type of alternative or type of scenario where you would need a variance, and so that's what variance allows. Based on some of the actions the commission has taken recently, like I said, allowing structures within 5 foot of the backyard if there's no development behind it, and even actually up to the property line. Hopefully you've noticed a reduction in the number of variances that have come forward in the last year or so. And so now they're more the exception than the rule. For a while there, we were doing quite a few. And like I said, based on the actions of the commission, we've changed some of the rules that allow for a little lightening up there, and you don't have to see it. It can be approved administratively now. So this one, we don't allow them in the side yard, but clearly this one seems to be a reasonable exception request. And so for that reason, staff's recommended motion is to approve Resolution 2022-67.
The applicant?
I believe the applicant is here, but they don't have a presentation.
Okay. Staff is to recommend a motion to approve. Any public comments? State your name.
Hillary Spar. Well, I don't like being up here, so I'll be quick. I live in an adjacent lot, and I don't have any objection to the pool itself. My concern is that this has been discussed as a proposal, and this pool has already been installed. So my concern is, can the proper inspections be completed now that the in-ground pool has already been installed? We have experience building a screened-in patio, which I don't know how the inspections vary, but I know that we had to do inspections like throughout the process after the concrete slab was poured and everything. So I just want to ensure that if this is approved, the proper inspections can still be completed despite the pool being in, and that will reduce the risk of it failing and affecting the lots that are right next to it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, along those lines, I have consulted with the building official who has gone out and looked at the pool, and enough of it is still exposed that he said that it can be permitted, inspected adequately.
And from this time forward, it will
Mhm.
follow the rules.
The rest of the inspection schedule will be followed. Yes, sir.
The applicant, have anybody want to cross-examine from the applicant? Staff, you don't want to cross-examine?
No, sir.
Okay. Member of the decision-making body, questions?
So Brian, was a permit issued for this swimming pool?
Mr. Chair, the permit hasn't been issued yet because of the discovery that they needed a variance. They were not aware that they needed a variance to put it in the side yard.
But they've already built it?
It's partially constructed. And so it's actually an above-ground pool that is being sunk into the ground to make it an in-ground pool, which is allowable by Florida building code. And so that's why I say enough of it is exposed still that a building official can inspect what's been done and then go forward and finish the inspection cycle from this point forward.
Okay, I mean, we've denied other people from allowing them to put the pool in their side yard, even though they really didn't have a backyard either in the past, so. Is there any kind of barrier between the pool and the adjacent property?
There's an existing fence, and that would be required by state law because you have to have the pool enclosed so that the kids can't get into it.
Now, is it a
neighborhood
chain
can't
link
get into it.
fence, or is it like a wooden fence, or what kind of?
We can ask the applicant of that. I believe it's a privacy fence. The type of fence you have?
It's a wooden fence,
Wooden.
about 7 feet.
Okay. So wooden stockade type privacy fence.
Any more questions?
No.
Commissioner Maynard? I have no question. Okay. Any final arguments by either staff?
No, sir.
No? City attorney, will you advise the decision-making body?
Competent and substantial evidence is our standard, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
sir.
Yes, sir.
No more deliberations? Take a motion. Move to approve. Got a move to approve. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Nay. Okay. You got that, Ms. Chu?
3-1.
3-1. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. We will, Mr. Attorney, will you read in number 4?
Yes, sir. This is resolution number 2022-68 V 22-03. A resolution of the City Commission serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry, Florida for approval of a variance petition as authorized under Section 3.2.5 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, granting an 8-foot encroachment into the required 10-foot rear yard setback for an accessory structure on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass resolution number 2022-68 as read by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Before we begin, any ex parte, Commissioner Cole?
None.
None. So, staff, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, John Paul Perez with the City of Newberry Planning and Economic Development Department. As the city attorney has read into the record, this is a 8-foot setback request to a 10-foot. So there will be 2 feet remaining there of separation between the property line and the structure, potentially. The property is located in Country Way. It's lot 128, so it's on the south side. In the single-family section, this aerial is old. The house is already constructed, and I'll show you a survey of the property in just a moment. But just so you can get an idea of the size of the homes generally in that neighborhood and the amount of lot area that's left remaining. And just an overview, this is Jacob D. and Gilberto M. Gonzalez-Walker that are making the request. And again, it's an 8-foot encroachment into the required 10-foot rear yard setback. This is phase 3 of Country Way. And this is a planned development zoning district, which means they get to make their own setbacks and own lot sizes. Sometimes they have unique lot configurations, and that's just kind of an element of that code. Bless you. You're welcome. So for this particular section of the plat, lots 111 through 137, they establish on the plat a 10-foot required setback. And here you can see lot 128 is the one we're looking at on the corner there with that arced front. And because it's arced like that, the whole street side is considered a front yard setback. And so in this particular code, the front yard is the most onerous. It's 20 feet that's required in the front, where only 10 is required in the rear. And you can see some of the lots on the north side are a little bit longer in length, so these ones are a little bit shorter in length. And this is a drawing that was provided by the applicant. This is the drawing that was given to them by the developer when they were originally closing on the house. And one of the requests that the applicant made to the developer was that they want a plan for a pool in the future. And this was a note that was provided on that preliminary sketch given to them, just to make note of that. And so they were supposed to put the house as close to the front property line as possible, to that front yard setback of 20 feet. And here's a sketch. This is how it was constructed or laid out on the site. And so from this, in green is the lot, and in red is that front yard setback. And you can see the house, the footprint of the house. There's still some front yard that could be taken advantage of, that this house could be moved. But it was located in such a way that didn't take full advantage of that front yard setback by locating it as close as possible to it. And for that reason, they don't have much yard to play with in the rear. And so that's their hardship, is that, because the house wasn't placed in the correct location, they now have this hardship. And this wasn't something that is, prevalent to them because they're not surveyors. So. And usually when a developer is going through, they're kind of laying houses out in a row, and they all kind of, something like this can slip some developers' keen eye. And so the proposed pool will be located approximately here. Just looking at other pools in other neighborhoods in Newberry, they're about 15 feet wide generally, a little bit wider, a little bit narrower, but a 15-foot pool with a little bit of decking. Staff found this was a pretty reasonable request for the variance. This is a shot of their current backyard, and you can see that back porch really does not leave a lot of room for them, and because of the location of the house, it doesn't allow them to shift the pool maybe closer to the side yard or something like that. It's really got to go right against that, that porch. This is another property in Countryway that has a pool, and they have ample backyard, and this is like I believe it was a 16-foot wide pool. And this is, they were able to actually go to the site and get a photograph of it. So it's not a very large pool, but this is generally what they're going to be putting in there on their property. Another one in Newberry Oaks. This one is about 14 feet wide. Again, not a very large pool, and they were able to get on site and take a photograph of that pool as well. And again, not a very large pool. It's not a big request. Now, just want to emphasize that they're not putting this large pool in their backyard, and that's why they're getting the variance. And based on the hardship that was presented to staff, based on that this is a right that's commonly enjoyed by other folks in the city of Newberry, and based on that this is not a self-imposed hardship, something that they created, staff can support this request, and staff recommends at the pleasure of the board to approve of conditions or deny the resolution for variance request. And that completes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, is the applicant here? Does the applicant wish to present? Yes.
No, I'm good, thank you.
You good? Okay. Staff.
The other examples that you showed, do they fall within the 10-foot setback, or?
No, all of those were permitted pools and met the setback requirements.
Okay, I don't know why we showed those if we're, the reason we're here is to adjust the setback, not to vote on the size of the pool, so I don't understand. Okay.
The purpose of the images was to show that that's a common pool size for the city of Newberry. Different jurisdictions will have different pool sizes, and some jurisdictions you may have much larger pools with much more elaborate elements. In Newberry, it's a pretty modest 15-foot wide pool. And these images would show other pools within the city of Newberry that have been constructed to show that what they're proposing to put in is generally consistent with other pools that other residents enjoy today.
And are there other houses on the backside of that house?
There will be, not yet.
John Paul, will you pull up the picture you had in the cul-de-sac of the, so is there green space behind this house? Give me the actual layout of the, right there.
So
Is that a road?
There will be a road that wraps around, and then this will be the north side of a block.
So that road's gonna wrap completely around, so the
Correct.
back of his yard goes to a road?
No, there'll be
another
another
house?
row of lots. Yeah. Let me see if this, there you go, that's probably a better, can you,
Okay, he's got one behind him, then a road.
yep,
I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Commissioner Coleman?
We're talking 2 foot, right?
no, 8 feet.
But it's, so it's, how close is it gonna be to the line?
Potentially the edge of water, the vertical line of the pool, could be 2 feet from the property line, leaving 2 feet of decking that would go right up to the property line, or the fence necessarily.
Oh, I was thinking it was encroaching only by 2.
That was my original thought too, but they clarified that it's actually, and I think the space between the back porch and the rear property line is 22 feet. And if your typical pool size in Newberry is about 15 feet, that leaves you about 7.5 or 7 feet, 3.5 on each side of pool decking. Seems like their contractor has suggested that they bring it a little bit closer to the rear lot line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
One more thing, I think we need to get the applicant, he's standing right here, to clarify Commissioner Coleman's space.
Sure.
Just because of some, how you doing, sir? State your name.
Jacob Gonzalez Welker. So the pool will be a maximum of 10 to 12 feet wide. So there's going to be at least 4 feet from the property line, if not 5 feet. We're trying to move it off the back of the house and give us the pool that we can use. So there's going to be a good distance between the pool and the actual property line.
So it's more than, I mean, less than 8 feet then from the property line. Are you correct?
It should be no more than 5 feet on the property line.
Back.
Correct.
So the encroachment is not gonna go 2 feet to the property line. It'll be
Correct.
5 feet from the property.
Correct.
Meaning that you're not gonna stand on the concrete and look over the fence?
That is correct. No,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, I mean, that's the only problem I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
okay.
have a 6 foot fence, and we've also planted clumping bamboo back there to give us another layer of barrier. So there's going to be plenty barrier between our property and the house behind us.
Okay. That's all I need.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Commissioner Farnsworth?
If it's only going to be 5 feet, why isn't that in the resolution?
That was not what was on the application.
So if we approve it, they can actually build it to within 2 feet.
We can, the Board of Adjustment has the ability to modify it, so there could be part of the motion to modify the request from 8 feet to 5 foot variance.
Any more questions? Just want to clarify this and then we'll.
Mr. Chair, I just want to be sure, is this one already under construction?
Yes, sir.
Not, so we have a blank palette
Correct.
for this one. So I would just point out to the commission, you guys could go ahead and approve it at the footage that you're comfortable with, and then make the motion that staff just verifies later. That way they don't have to come back.
discussion? Seeing none, I'll get a motion to, a motion, and then. No.
Okay.
So I need a motion with your setbacks that you wish to hear.
I move to approve that, approve it with the setback at 5 feet, no closer than 5 feet from the fence line.
Absolutely.
And, does that sound good enough? Ms. Judy?
Yes, I approve the setbacks at 5 foot from.
I got one more question though.
What?
For you. Does it matter what the width of the sidewalk is on that back side, or is that a part of,
That's a great question.
because I've seen sidewalks on the back, being an appraiser, that aren't but 2 feet wide
Yeah.
in neighborhoods because of, I guess, the same situation.
Yeah.
Well, he's already got his fence there.
So I'm
Well,
not.
no, we're talking about the actual concrete going
Yeah,
around the
going
pool,
around.
the sidewalk.
Oh.
Does that
Yeah.
have to be 5 feet?
Huh?
Does
That's, I don't know that's.
Mr. Chair, the city's practice has been to allow the flat work to go up to the property line if necessary, unless they're putting a footer in because they intend to eventually put a screen enclosure around it.
Right.
And so if it's just the flat work, it's
It can
the
go.
pool is considered the structure and can go to the building setback line. So this would be 5 foot for the pool to the property line. The decking could go further into the building setback line,
Yeah.
unless they intend to build a structure on top of it.
Well, I'm using in this motion at 5 foot, should we,
5 foot from your water line, would that be
from
your water line? That way you got 5 more feet of green space.
Mr. Chair.
I want the
Yes,
guy
sir.
to,
Commissioner, I think we need to, because we seem a little bit confused. The application has one, the applicant is saying another footage. So why don't we ask the applicant to come back up and clarify? You
Yes.
got 8 feet on the application. You just gave testimony that you only need 5 feet. Help us understand.
Sure. So originally, we had decided not to put a screen over the pool. There's no trees planted, there's really no reason for a screen. When we got to talking about it with the developer, he said, well, you need to make sure you have enough room for a screen. Then I went back and learned more about the regulations for a screen. That was the additional 3 feet for the footers, but I don't have to have a screen. So that's why I came in and said 5 feet is fine. So that's the reason for that additional 3 feet, is for a screen down the road, 50 or 40 years from now, when trees are in full development, if we need a screen at that time. That's the whole reason for that.
got it.
Okay, so 5 feet from your water line, and you're good.
5 feet from the pool to the line, is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just wanting to
water.
clarify, are we talking about the water or the concrete that goes all the way around?
No, the backyard's gonna be converted to xeriscape. So it's gonna be rock with succulent plants back there for water conservation.
What he meant was from where the edge of the pool is.
Correct,
To the fence,
To the
5
fence.
feet,
5 feet.
correct.
We own, we're.
Sorry for the confusion.
No, that's good.
So I got a motion to
Yeah.
approve with conditions,
With condition of 5 feet.
5 feet. Can I get a second? I second it. Any more deliberations? Seeing none, I'll have to get a motion. We got
Already got it.
the motion, second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Roll call.
Oh,
Roll call it.
Clark, aye. Commissioner Farnsworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Maison?
Aye.
Unanimous decision? Final.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, buddy.
Boy, that one there, Scott, absolutely
We got through it.
twisted. Okay. That looks like that is it for the Board of Adjustment meeting. The Board of Adjustment meeting is adjourned. I'll pass that to you, sir, with honor.